I am in Holland, Michigan. We are going over one of my favorite smocking patterns. This has, trellis. I don't know why I say complicated, but I could see it be complicated. Yeah, complicated. Let's just say complicated. Tricky. There's some tricks to this, and I'm gonna walk you through this process. I start it backwards. I'm not sure if everyone does this, but I know this is how I do it. I am largely self-taught, and this is definitely one of my ways. I hope this camera's not going to fall over. I've got you propped up. It is all sorts of just make it work here in the field of the tulips, but I am not complaining. I am so excited. The weather is so pretty. The tulips are gorgeous. Don't mind my eye. That's a whole thing. So we're going to start with the blue, and I'm just going to do the base of the smocking first. So what I am going to start, and like I said, I'm largely self-taught, so I don't know if this is like the way you're supposed to do it, like what other people do it, or I don't know, but this is the way I do it, and it takes a lot of the thinking out, which is great, especially after you've had children and you can no longer think. Anybody else? What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center front of my garment, and that's where I'm going to start the trellis. So I'm going to go from the center front of my garment, start the bottom of that trellis, the bottom stitch, and then go over, and then go all the way up, counting however many. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups, if that makes sense, like 7 little, the bottoms going up. And then we'll come down 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll come down 4. Okay, that's how I start this trellis, and that gives me the base, so I don't have to think about. I have to think about counting whatever to get me the only thing that I think about counting is where to place this bottom. So you can see they've got it on the 8th row, but that's the 8th whole space. So if you've done half spaces, you'll count 16 down. Does that make sense? Because, half to 16 is 8, so there you go. And then that's where you'll place the first stitch and work your way up, and then I just work my way back to fill in. So start at the center front pleat, like the bottom of it. I went all the way up, and then you can turn the corner and come back down, and now you'll be working on one of the trellis, like one of the smaller trellis, which is 2 less. I didn't quite pleat 16 rows. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but I didn't quite pleat 16 rows, and that's fine. If you're in the same boat, if you're doing a smaller bishop that you can't do 16, whatever it is, just do a 2 difference. Like, so whatever you do for the main center front trellis, subtract 2 for the smaller trellis, okay? And so then you're going to come back down and then just end 2 short of where the main trellis ends. Does that make sense? The center front trellis. So in my case, the small trellis should end on this blue. It happens to be a blue pleating thread, and so I followed the blue pleating thread over, and that is 2 shorter than the other pleating threads. So now I'm going to start backfilling from the top. So I'm going to take where my one join is and work my way over. That way I know where to start the rows and like how it works out. So I've got my center front, most of my structure is done. I've got the center front trellis structure done. I've got my small trellis where that should end, and so now I need to work the stitches back to the far left of my bishop. If you're left-handed, then do the far right of your bishop, I think. I'm not positive, but anyway, I am right-handed. I smock from left to right, so I'm going to go back to the left-hand side of my bishop. Hope that is making sense. So the last piece of structure is to get the rest of the trellis in there, and that way you know we've got the top, and then we'll have the bottom, and then it's just a matter of filling in between the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go back and start at the bottom of this trellis. I'm at the bottom, so I'm going to come back up. I'm really just going to come up to wherever it meets, you know, because I've got my top row there. And then, so I'm not going to have to count on the way up because it's just going to come to wherever it meets. And then I need to count on the way down and just make sure I'm level on what happens to be the blue line, that blue thread for me. My pleater is like a hot mess of all different color threads right now. Just happens to work out because right now I can just focus on getting down to the blue thread and not have to think as much, which is excellent. Excellent, not having to think as much. But anyway, so some people are going to ask, like, how many pleats if I counted my pleats. And I know this is controversial, but no, I don't count my pleats. I did a video on this a while ago going over just like, no, I don't. And life goes on. I don't let you. Okay, what am I trying to say? If you want to count your pleats, go ahead and do so. I don't. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I don't lose any sleep over it. So for me, I just think it's pretty regardless, and I don't stress about it. Things may change down the road, but at this point, I don't have any desire to count 200 pleats. And the other side of that is that I feel like I'm highly likely to mess up when I'm counting. So if I mess up and it's, you know, I miscount by whatever, well then the point of counting kind of goes down the drain, right? You've got to be precise when you're counting for it to make any sense in counting, which I don't have that much faith in myself, so I don't count. And then I'm going to start up here and I'm going to backfill all of this in. Does that make sense? So those are like the 2 points, and now everything, the structure is there to know what to do from here on out.